Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Thursday, May 4th, and we've got quite a bit of rainfall coming for at least southeast lower Michigan and less as you head to the northwest. In fact, some areas across southeast lower Michigan could see between 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain. Meanwhile, as you get up towards Big Rapids, probably little, if any, rain at all will fall. In fact, it's a possibility we could see very little rain once you get around the Mount Pleasant area, so we'll keep an eye on that. I know the Breckenridge school kids going to the Great Lakes Loons game in Midland today, and I think there's a decent chance at least the start of the game will be dry, but we could see some showers before the game ends. And you can see over the next 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 days, cooler than normal, but also drier than normal conditions. So hopefully we'll be able to get into the fields and get plenty of the crops planted here once we get into next week. If we look at the forecast for the next couple of days, you can see lots of rain across southeast lower Michigan, and with that rain, temperatures are going to hold in the 40s down to the southeast part of the state, and with thinner clouds and no precipitation, temperatures will get well into the 50s as you get up north. So actually the nicest weather will be across northern Michigan, and then we'll have an area in between anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch. And again, up in this area, as you get up towards Mount Pleasant, Big Rapids, I think any precipitation would be under 1/10 of an inch as it looks right now. If we look at the conditions out there this morning, you can see first of all the flood advisories, or the flash flood watch for the southern row of counties. And again, I'm really surprised that we don't see some of those for the southeast few counties. Again, areas around Jasper and Blissfield, or towards Tupperville and St. Thomas, even London, these are the areas I expect to see between at least 1 to 2 inches, maybe even more than that, maybe 2.5 inches. So again, a real good soaker across southeast lower Michigan into southwest Ontario, and very little precipitation once you get back towards Newaygo, up towards Breckenridge. And again, in between that, we could have possibly up to 1 inch once you get up around the Flint, Lansing areas off to the south. If we look at the radar this morning, you can see that activity off to our south and southwest is beginning to lift north now. And again, it'll be shoved to the east as high pressure tries to keep this system from going too far north. But again, for areas of southeast lower Michigan, southwest Ontario, a very soggy day, night, and at least into part of the day on Friday coming up for those areas. If we look at the weather map this morning, the low pressure system responsible for all the rain that we expect here over the next 24 hours will be moving into western Kentucky here by this morning. This front and high pressure off to the north is going to try to suppress that further to the south. So it's a battle zone, and it's right over southern lower Michigan. A little farther shift or a wobble to the north would bring heavier rains further north, and if it were to be a little bit farther suppressed to the south, we could see many of the northern half of the MAC area staying fairly dry. Again, we'll watch this over the next 12 hours what it does. And then by tomorrow morning, that low is just slowly crawling into Indiana, and then it'll begin to shift off to the east. We got a weak system coming in over the weekend that's going to drop down into the Great Lakes. It's going to help dig that trough out. At the very least, it's going to keep the very chilly temperatures around through the weekend, with highs only in the 40s and 50s. So we'll be running a good 10 degrees below normal, maybe 15 degrees below normal here through much of the weekend. We begin to moderate later next week as high pressure moves in. Still going to be cooler than normal, but not too bad, not too far from normal, and we should begin to dry out. Again, over the weekend, we could see some precipitation as that low drops to the southeast across the Great Lakes, but again, it should be very light, and we don't expect a lot of precipitation. And then our next chance of rain looks like it'll come towards next Tuesday and Wednesday, but right now it looks like it'll be a pretty moisture-starved system, so we don't expect a lot of rain from that system, again, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Now, over the next 60 hours, this is the GFS from the 12Z. The European and the NAM models are about 1 inch less than this, and then if we look at the latest 06 run of the GFS, you can see it's more in line now with the NAM and the European model showing, but still a significant amount of rain across the southeast part of the state, all the way up again to about the Saginaw Bay area down towards South Bend. In that area from there to the southeast, the heaviest rains. And you can see as you get up towards Clare, very little precipitation expected across the Northland. And if we look at the latest, this is from the WPC. Again, it's pretty similar to the GFS's model, showing a good 2-inch swath of rainfall across much of southeast lower Michigan with very little precipitation. Again, once you get to the north up around Big Rapids towards Clare. If we look at the weather watch out there this morning, you can see a large area of flash flood watches, and again, would not be surprised to see a couple counties added this morning once that rain moves into the area, but maybe not. But certainly a lot of rainfall is going to fall across southeast lower Michigan into southwest Ontario. Dense fog advisories for portions of Minnesota, and we got a number of frost and freeze type advisories and watches across the areas all around Kansas, Nebraska, back into Colorado. And again, wind advisories, and once again for portions of Kentucky into West Virginia. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a great day, and 73s to all.